The very moment the clock struck 7:38 p.m., every last one of those 80 smart villas in Silverstone Estates went black. Not a glimmer left, not a hum from those fancy thermostats, not even a flicker from the beddets or wine coolers they all bragged about at board meetings. In a split second, their perfect little world got swallowed up by a blackout so thick you could practically taste the panic in the air. Phones blinking, their last folks standing around in their cashmere throws, totally stunned. Because for once, money couldn't buy them out of this mess. It was chaos, pure uncut, HOA-flavored chaos. You ever hear $100,000 worth of smart ovens all shriek in digital agony at once? Sounds like the world ending. There was shouting, crying, and no joke, someone outside wailing, "My Tesla won't charge." Down every perfectly manicured lane, the groan of those motorized gates dying one after the other like dominoes. Security systems croaked, streetlights fizzled, and all the smug comfort of Silverstone went up in smoke. Meanwhile, across the property line, I struck a match nice and slow and lit my old kerosene lantern. My ranch cabin glowed soft and golden just the way I like it. Kicked on my diesel generator, old reliable purring like a fat house cat. Poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, sat back and listened to the neighborhood unravel. It's funny how sweet a little silence can taste when you're the only one prepared for it. You could almost feel the whole neighborhood's gaze swing toward the big, ugly HOA clubhouse palace of power shrine to Sandra Whitmore's ego. But their lights were out too, for once in perfect solidarity with the rest of us. Sandra herself. President Queen Bee, self-anointed Grand Poobah of candles and committees, stood there in the pitch-black face, caught halfway between panic and rage. It was dawning on her slow but certain I wasn't just some cranky old rancher. I was the power, and they just cut me off. Name's Logan Price. Used to be an electrical engineer, a real one, not the kind who advises at HOA meetings, now retired minding my late granddad's ranch by the lake. My granddad bought this land back in '65, way before the first developer got dollar signs in their eyes or dreamed up anything as pretentious as Silverstone Estates. Turns out my property sits at a critical junction. The entire HOA's buried power line cut straight through my field-old easement deal signed 40 years ago, never gave us a lick of trouble. Every year the utility crews rolled in, did their thing. Everybody got their juice, no drama. Worked fine right up until I decided to upgrade. Slapped solar arrays up on my barn roof, rigged a battery bank in the equipment shed, got a little smarter about using what I made, and, well, maybe I bragged a little too much about cutting my bills down to nothing. That's when Sandra spray-tanned glowing nails like daggers showed up at my porch, shrieking about unauthorized electrical tampering. She pointed at my panels like they were weapons. Accused me of ruining the rustic aesthetic with my ugly inverter box as if she hadn't parked her own personal satellite dish smack in her front yard. When I pointed that out, she huffed and said it was beige, so it didn't count. You ever meet someone who thinks the rules are just for everyone else? Yeah. She handed me a cease and desist printed in 7 fonts with a border of daisies claimed my solar rig was causing magnetic field imbalances across the whole community. I asked her where she learned that, and she just blinked and waved her phone at me, so I guess Google. She started fining me $100 a day for electrical incoherence. Every day a new violation, irregular electron patterns, failure to respect visual harmony. It was like living inside a parody of suburbia. I tried explaining real calm honest I wasn't drawing from the HOA grid. If anything, I was keeping their lights on. The HOA's deal with the power company had expired, the infrastructure was ancient. And without my system stabilizing the whole setup, those luxury homes would short every time someone made an espresso and tried to fill their jacuzzi at the same time. But Sandra, oh no, she wasn't having it. She hired her own energy consultant who looked like he sold essential oils at Renaissance fairs. This guy roamed my yard, waving a souped-up metal detector, making noises like he could feel the vibes. After an hour of humming and muttering, he declared my system was spiritually misaligned. I damn near bit through my tongue not to laugh. 2 days later, no warning, no legal notice, they had the power company cut me off at the main line. The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. To disconnect me, they had to break their own easement, something the lawyers would have a field day with. Sandra watched from the curb, grinning ear to ear, snapped a selfie for the HOA Facebook with my lights out in the background. I sent them a polite email. As requested, I've ceased providing power stabilization to Silverstone Estates. You might want to call your utility company before it gets any hotter. Good luck. They ignored it. Sandra even replied all with a thumbs up emoji. Framed that one for the wall. You know what comes next, right? The first big heat wave of the year hit. Temperatures spiked over 110 for 3 straight days. Everyone in Silverstone cranked their AC to the max. With my system out there, was nothing balancing the load. The transformer at the junction right on my land overheated and boom. Loud enough to wake the dead. Power gone. 80 homes stone cold, everything fried. All those smart gadgets down for the count. The security gates stuck open, espresso machines, dead aquariums bubbling into silence. Sandra's pride and joy, her $12,000 aeroponic herb garden turned into wilted mush. And the phone calls started. Board members who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly needed urgent assistance and collaborative solutions. Even tried to toss legalese at me as if that'd change anything. Sandra herself showed up the next morning, hair-frazzled sunglasses, hiding her eyes, trying to act friendly. She offered to reconsider my building's appearance if I'd just turn my system back on. Behind her, a line of Tesla owners stared at their dead cars, looking like they'd lost their religion. The HOA's own electrician, a real pro, checked the lines and told them point blank, "You just told the only guy keeping your network stable to get lost. That's why everything's busted. Be grateful the whole street didn't burn down." The repair bill, $200,000, not counting everyone's fried gadgets. And the power company, well, with their lapsed contract, the new rate was triple. Their faces when all this landed, if I'd had a camera, I'd have made a fortune off that photo. I set out my terms. Written apologies from every director, signed and notarized. Full reversal of all fines. Legal recognition of my easement and the role of my property. And Sandra, she had to apologize in person at the next board meeting. You've never seen a room full of grown adults look so sheepish. Sandra delivered her apology, voice shaking, hand trembling, but every I dotted and T crossed. Her face, when she handed over the signed paperwork, was the best pairing with bourbon I've ever found. The others signed, staring at the table, probably wishing they'd listened a little sooner. I restored power slow on purpose, one street at a time, starting with the folks who'd always waved or brought me cookies. Left Sandra's house for last, she noticed. Didn't say a word. As the lights came back, the relief. Yeah, I won't lie, felt nice. At the next board meeting, Sandra thanked me publicly, reading from a script about valuable lessons in community partnership. Looked and sounded about as genuine as a timeshare ad. I handed her an invoice for my new consulting services, $1,800 a month for system maintenance, plus call-out rates that'd make a plumber jealous. The contract, drafted by a lawyer who thought the whole story was hilarious, runs for 10 years with auto-renewal. Sandra's candle business didn't survive, and her Audi got swapped for a used Honda. They even offered me a seat on the board. I told them, deadpan, I'd rather hug a live transformer. Got some nervous laughs. These days, I drink my coffee at sunrise under the glow of my solar-powered lights, watching Sandra hurry past my fence, pretending she doesn't see me. She's lost weight. Looks tired, carries herself like someone who's learned something the hard way. Real power isn't about rules or fines or showy clubhouses. It's about being needed. The whole neighborhood runs on the current I provide. Funny how that works. There's a sign by the transformer now, my little joke, essential infrastructure. Do not annoy owner. At the last board meeting I attended just for fun, Sandra had to read a new policy about respecting residents with key utility access. She stumbled on the phrase indispensable community allies. The vote was unanimous. She rushed out as soon as it ended, but not before I caught her muttering she'd never cross an engineer again. Then the local news picked up the story. The headline, HOA power play backfires costs community thousands. They ran a shot of Sandra from the blackout. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Online forums had a field day. Sandra got a slap on the wrist from the state association, and at the next election, she lost 179 to 1. That last vote, pretty sure it was her own. She stood there, mouth opening and closing, not a word coming out. Just like that, her reign was over. Here's what I learned sometimes. It takes losing everything you thought you controlled to realize where real authority comes from. Not from a title or a rule book, but from showing up, knowing your worth, and being willing to do the right thing even when it's hard. I don't believe in karma, but I do believe in balance, and sometimes the universe hands out justice with a sense of humor. So tell me, when is just following the rules not enough? Where's the line between order and overreach? And have you ever seen karma catch up to someone in real time? Drop your story in the comments. Let's see who's got the wildest HOA tale, or maybe the best comeback. You never know, your power move might just be the story we all needed to hear.